If you have ever stood at the kitchen sink in July, eating a sweet peach while the juice ran down your hand, or finished a bowl of cherries on the porch, or sliced open a ripe plum and tossed the pit without thinking, you may have thrown away more than kitchen scraps. You may have thrown away the beginning of a living fruit tree. Inside that hard little pit is not trash, not waste, not something useless. It is a sleeping tree packed inside a natural shell, waiting for the right signal to wake up. A peach pit, a plum pit, a cherry pit, an apricot pit, even an almond, all carry the same quiet possibility. Given the right preparation, that pit can become a seedling. That seedling can become a young tree, and that tree can spend decades giving back fruit to your yard, your table, and your family. And here is the part most people never realize. You do not need a nursery tag, a fancy greenhouse, or expensive equipment to begin. You need the fruit you were already going to eat, a little patience, and 3 simple steps that match the way nature already grows these trees. Most people fail when they try this because they do what feels logical. They eat the fruit, push the pit into a pot of soil, water it for a few weeks, and then wonder why nothing happens. After a month, they assume the pit was dead, or their soil was bad, or they simply do not have the skill to grow fruit trees from seed. But the truth is much simpler and much more important. The pit was not dead. It was waiting. Stone fruit seeds are built with a lock inside them, and that lock does not open just because you put the pit in warm soil. It opens only after the seed has gone through a cold, moist period that tells it winter has passed and spring is safe. That cold period is called stratification, and once you understand it, growing fruit trees from pits stops feeling like luck and starts becoming a repeatable method. So today, I am going to walk you through the full 3-step process for growing peaches, plums, cherries, apricots, and almonds from seed. We will cover how to clean and prepare the pits, how to give them the cold winter treatment they need, and how to plant the young seed so it has a real chance to survive. By the end, you will know exactly why some pits never sprout, why others rot before they wake up, and how to give your own seedlings the strongest possible start. Whether you have a full backyard, a small homestead, a raised bed, or just a few containers near a sunny wall. Before we begin, if you enjoy practical growing advice that actually helps ordinary people grow more food at home, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. I share simple, field-tested lessons for home gardeners, small orchard growers, and anyone who wants to make better use of the land they already have. Now let's talk about what is really hiding inside that pit. When you eat a peach or plum, the part you enjoy is the fruit flesh, but the tree's real purpose is hidden at the center. That hard shell protects a seed, and inside that seed is a tiny embryo with the genetic instructions to become a full fruit tree. It already knows how to make roots, leaves, branches, flowers, and fruit. It is small, but it is complete. The reason it does not sprout right away is protection. These trees evolved in places with real winters, and their seeds are designed not to germinate during the wrong season. Imagine a ripe peach falling to the ground in late summer. If the seed sprouted immediately, that little seedling would face heat, drought, insects, and then winter before it was strong enough to survive. Nature solved that problem by making the seed wait. The seed waits through cold and moisture. It sits in the ground through winter, slowly receiving the message that time is passing. Then when the temperature rises in spring, the seed wakes up and begins to grow. That is stratification. In nature, it happens outdoors without anyone thinking about it. At home, especially if you are saving pits from store-bought fruit or fruit from your own kitchen, you need to recreate that winter yourself. The good news is that your refrigerator can do the job beautifully. The bad news is that skipping this step is the main reason people get zero results. A peach pit may need 3 to 4 months of cold treatment before it is ready. A cherry may need 2 to 3 months. An almond may need less. Each fruit has its own timing, and if you treat them all the same, you may end up disappointed. There is one more challenge, and that is the hard outer shell. A peach pit is not like a tomato seed or a bean seed. It is protected by a tough wooden casing, almost like nature built a tiny fortress around it. That shell keeps the seed safe through winter, through freezing and thawing, through animals, rain, pressure, and time. But when you are trying to grow the seed on purpose, that same shell can slow everything down. Sometimes the seed inside is perfectly healthy, but the shell keeps moisture out too long. Sometimes the outside stays wet and begins to rot before the inside wakes up. That is why proper preparation matters so much. So let's go step by step. Step 1 is pit preparation, and this begins the moment you finish eating the fruit. Do not throw the pit in a pot. Do not leave fruit flesh clinging to it. Do not toss it in a drawer and forget it for weeks. Take the pit to the sink and rinse it thoroughly under running water. Use your fingers or a small stiff brush to remove every bit of fruit pulp from the outside. This may sound like a small detail, but it matters. Fruit flesh left on the pit will rot during the cold storage period. That rot can bring mold, bacteria, and fungus right to the seed, and once the seed is damaged, no amount of care later will save it. After cleaning the pit, set it on a paper towel and let it dry for 2 or 3 days at room temperature. Do not bake it in direct sun. Do not put it near a heater. Just let the surface dry naturally in a warm shaded place. Now you have a choice depending on the type of fruit. For peaches and apricots, I like to carefully crack the outer shell and remove the seed inside. This helps the seed absorb moisture more evenly and often speeds up germination. The seed inside looks a little like a small almond, pale, smooth, and shaped like a teardrop. To crack the shell, wrap the pit in a cloth and tap it gently with a hammer, or use a pair of nutcrackers with steady pressure. The goal is not to smash it. The goal is to open the shell without damaging the seed inside. If you crush the seed, it is finished, so work slowly and carefully. For plums and cherries, the shell is smaller and thinner, so you can usually stratify the whole pit. If you want to help cherry pits along, you can lightly sand one end with fine sandpaper, just enough to rough up the surface a little. Do not grind it down or open it deeply. For almonds, if you are using fresh almonds from a tree, crack the shell and use the kernel inside. If you are using almonds from the store, be careful. Roasted almonds will not grow. Salted almonds will not grow. Blanched or heat-treated almonds may not grow either. You need raw, viable almonds, ideally fresh and untreated. Step 2 is stratification, the artificial winter. Take your clean pits or extracted seeds and place them in a small plastic bag or container with a moist medium. I like a simple mix of coarse sand and coconut coir, about half and half. You can also use slightly damp peat moss or a seed starting mix, as long as it stays moist but never soggy. This is where many people make their second big mistake. The medium should be damp, not wet. If you squeeze it and water drips out, it is too wet. Add more dry material and mix it again. You want it to hold moisture around the seed, not drown it. Place the pits or seeds inside the medium, seal the bag loosely so a little air can exchange, and put it in the refrigerator. The ideal temperature is around 34 to 41 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 1 to 5 degrees Celsius. A normal household refrigerator is usually perfect. Do not put the bag in the freezer. Freezing solid is not the goal. We are imitating cold winter soil, not turning the seed into ice. Now the waiting begins. Peach seeds usually need 90 to 120 days in cold stratification. That means 3 to 4 months, and yes, that feels long when you are excited to see something sprout. But peaches are not in a hurry, and trying to rush them usually leads to failure. Apricots often need around 80 to 100 days. Plums usually need 60 to 90 days. Cherries also need 60 to 90 days depending on the variety. Almonds are often quicker, usually needing about 40 to 60 days. Write the date on the bag before you put it in the refrigerator. This one habit will save you confusion later. Every 2 weeks, open the bag and check the moisture. If it feels dry, add a small misting of water. If it smells sour or rotten, something is too wet or contaminated, and you need to remove any bad seeds before the problem spreads. You are watching for one special sign: a small white root tip emerging from the seed. When you see that root tip, the seed is awake. The calendar no longer matters. If your peach seed sprouts after 85 days, plant it. If your cherry seed wakes up early, plant it. The root is the signal. Step 3 is planting and establishment, and this is where you turn a sprouted seed into a real young tree. For the first season, I recommend planting in a container rather than directly in the ground. A pot gives you more control over moisture, protection, and light. Choose a pot at least 8 inches deep with drainage holes at the bottom. Deeper is better because fruit trees want to send roots down early. Fill the pot with a loose, well-draining mix. A good potting soil with some coarse perlite added works well. The goal is simple. Hold enough moisture for the young root, but drain quickly enough that the seed never sits in soggy soil. Make a small hole about 1 inch deep. Place the sprouted seed with the root tip pointing downward. This matters. The root goes down, the shoot comes up. Cover gently with soil and water, carefully until moisture runs from the bottom of the pot. Now place the pot somewhere warm and bright, but not in harsh, full sun yet. A young seedling does not need to be baked. Morning light is good. Bright, indirect light is good. A sheltered porch, a sunny windowsill, or a protected outdoor spot can all work. Once the seed has been planted, the first shoot usually appears in 1 to 3 weeks if stratification was done correctly. Sometimes it takes a little longer, so do not panic after a few days. But if nothing appears after 4 or 5 weeks, make a note. The seed may not have had enough cold time, or it may have been damaged before planting. When the seedling has 4 to 6 true leaves, begin giving it a little more direct morning sun. Do this gradually over about 2 weeks. A few hours at first, then a little longer. This process is called hardening off, and it keeps the young plant from going into shock. At this stage, you can feed lightly, but do not overdo it. Use a balanced liquid fertilizer at half strength every couple of weeks. Young roots are tender, and too much fertilizer can burn them. More food is not always better. Steady growth is better. By the end of the first growing season, a strong seedling may reach 2 to 3 feet tall. Some will be smaller, and that is fine. What matters most is a healthy root system, a sturdy stem, and leaves that look clean and vigorous. Now I want you to think about your own kitchen for a moment. Which fruit pit are you going to try first? A peach from the farmer's market, a plum from your backyard tree, cherries from a summer bowl on the table, an apricot from a neighbor's tree, maybe even a raw almond if you can find the right kind. Leave a comment and tell me which one you are going to start with. Just write peach, plum, cherry, apricot, or almond. I want to know what people are growing in real yards, real containers, and real homes. Now here is the golden tip, and it can make a big difference. Do not save pits randomly. Choose the best fruit you can find. Pick pits from large, fully ripe, healthy fruit whenever possible. If you have access to a productive tree in your yard, your neighbor's yard, or a local orchard, save pits from the fruit that looks strongest and tastes best. The seed inside a well-developed fruit often has better stored energy, and that stored energy helps the seedling push its first root and first leaves. A weak, small, underripe, or damaged fruit may still contain a living seed, but that seed may start life with less strength. When you are trying to grow a tree that might live for decades, it makes sense to begin with the best material you can get. And do not save only one pit. Save 3 to 5 pits for every tree you hope to grow. Even when you do everything right, not every seed will germinate. Some seeds are not viable. Some may mold. Some may sprout but grow weakly. Starting several gives you options, and if they all grow, you can keep the strongest one and share the rest with another gardener. Before we close, let's cover the mistakes that cause most failures. The first mistake is skipping stratification. Warm soil alone is not enough for most stone fruit seeds. A peach pit does not care that you are excited. It wants its winter. Give it the cold period it needs and your odds improve dramatically. The second mistake is using too much water during stratification. Moisture wakes the seed, but wetness rots it. If your bag looks swampy, you are not helping the seed. You are suffocating it. The third mistake is planting too deep. A young seed has limited energy. If you bury it several inches down, it may not have the strength to reach the surface. About 1 inch deep is usually enough. The fourth mistake is putting the root tip upward. It sounds simple, but it happens. The white root goes down. Handle it gently because that little root is the beginning of the entire tree. The fifth mistake is overwatering after the seedling appears. A young fruit tree wants even moisture, not a flooded pot. Water when the top layer of soil begins to dry, and always make sure the container drains freely. The sixth mistake is moving the seedling into harsh outdoor conditions too quickly. Indoor or sheltered seedlings are soft. Full sun, wind, and heat can burn them fast. Give them time to toughen up. And finally, remember this. A tree grown from seed may not produce fruit exactly like the parent tree. That is part of the adventure. Some seedlings produce wonderful fruit. Some are average, one. Some may later be used as rootstock for grafting. But every seedling teaches you something, and every one of them begins with something most people throw away. The next time you eat a peach, do not look at the pit the same way. The next time you finish cherries or slice open an apricot, pause before you toss the seed away. You are holding a possible tree, a possible shade spot, a possible harvest, and maybe even a story your family will talk about years from now. 3 steps are all it takes to begin. Clean and prepare the pit. Give it the cold, moist winter it needs. Plant it carefully and help the seedling through its first season. That is how a kitchen scrap becomes a tree. That is how a summer fruit becomes a future harvest. And that is how a person with an ordinary backyard can begin growing something that lasts. If this helped you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I post practical growing lessons every week for people who want real results from their gardens, orchards, containers, and homesteads. In the next video, we will build on this exact lesson and talk about how to make seed-grown peach, plum, and cherry trees produce fruit faster, including the grafting method nurseries use to speed up the path from young tree to real harvest. So save that pit, label that bag, make room in the refrigerator, and start your own fruit tree today.